live. Welcome everyone to the Public Works Committee meeting. I entertaining a motion of our approve the minutes of our previous meeting. Being on the motion, Mr. Strainer on the second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. And we'll start without objection. We'll start with Parks and Recreation and Railroad. We have our friends here, Brett Raphael. How are you? Good. Dan, the microphone.
Good. Hey everyone, nice to see you all again. If you don't know me, my name's Rob Hart. I'm the CEO of RevRail, and I am going to introduce you to Kim LaScala as well. Kim's been with us for a long time and putting on different hats, but she recently has taken over operations for the company. So she's been a big help, and I just thought it'd be a nice chance for her to get a hi with you guys as well. But I'll quick update on where we are. We had a good season. We started out slow because I don't think it stopped raining in May and June, which hurt our ridership, and then sort of roared back in July and August. So it ended up being a good year, and the fall was actually really nice as well. So overall, our numbers were up this year. We're up almost 5,000 from the year before, and then the previous year we're up a little bit from 2023. And so what we started to notice was that our numbers had been going down. I think part of it was that we weren't the new game in town anymore. We've been here for 9 years, so we sort of had to start to earn our keep a little bit more. And what that meant to us is putting more money into marketing. So we made a real effort to improve our marketing with RevRail, and I think that shows in the numbers that we brought in. We put over $150,000 into marketing, which is something I was reflecting on because we just received the Star Award for Warren County, which we were really psyched about. So supporting tourism around the region, and so we were looking into like, how are we doing that? And I think, us putting our money behind it is a real indicator of that. But another thing that we did, just to give you some information about us, we opened another location this fall out in Western New York, out by Ellicottville, an area called Cattaraugus Village, small little hamlet village. And so many of those riders that came with us during these 3-week pop-up were like, either, oh, I did you guys back in Lake George and I heard about you, and so this is great to hear. Or more people were saying, oh, we're going to the Adirondacks next summer. And this is the place that we always talk about. As many of you may know, but we've expanded throughout the years and we have different operations, but we always say North Creek, this is our flagship operation. If you get a chance, please come to North Creek, and we have that. And so we see that around all the different spots that we come. So I just thought it'd be nice for you guys to realize that is happening, that wherever we go, this is the place that we continually talk about, because this is where we started. This is where I feel most close to, and we think it's a great area. So we're psyched to be here. I'll let there was one other thing I wanted to touch on. I forget what that was. Do you remember? Did I do it already?
I think you did.
Okay, cool. I'll let you take it. Kim does this stuff better than I do. But so I'll let Kim talk a little bit about one thing that we did. Was kind of interesting. We did an economic impact study, and I thought that might be helpful for you guys to know a little bit about that.
And you can come back, Rob, if
Okay.
you remember. It's nice to meet all of you. I know I've had interactions with a couple of you, but it's nice to see everybody in the room. We did this economic impact study. We started it last year. The data really is about the same from 24 to 25. But it does show a few things. It shows that we have about 30% of our customers are returning customers every year. And while that's a great number, we're also bringing 70% of new people to the area. And 50% of those riders are coming here just for RevRail. They don't actually have anything else on their agenda. They're actually coming for RevRail as their number one thing to do. The spending power that comes in with those visitors is, I forgot to add up my numbers, but what did we say here? About 70% of people are making $100,000 or more. So they're bringing money with them as they come to visit the area. Most of the trips are day trips, but we do have a fair number of people who are staying overnight. But it looks like 70% are day trippers. Sorry, no problem. And those are the high points of that study. I just wanted to recap 2025 a little bit. We did have that increase in ridership. We also donated to over 60 local charities. We did a ton of event sponsorships and cash donations, bike rides, local rides for citizens. We also created a section of our station for local artisans. So we're trying to get people who have, great talents and skills in the area to come in and share their stuff with us. We sell it for them. As far as employment, we have 15 full-time year-round employees. Most of them are from the Adirondack area, but we have some in other areas. We employ 125 people across all of our locations, and roughly 70 are from the Adirondacks. So it's a good chunk of our employment team. Anything else?
Yeah, I did remember.
Okay. Back to Roger.
It's just that since we've been, a lot of times when we have an issue or anything like that, we're being reactive and calling and be like, hey, this is happening here at the station or whatever. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Dean. Like, whenever we do have something, Dean has been super easy to talk to, and I know he's pulled in a lot of different directions. So I just want to give him a quick shout out because I feel like it's a sort of thankless position with us anyway. We're trying to get a little bit better and be more proactive with things. But he's been just a wonderful person to work with. So I just wanted to note that. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for everything, guys. Yeah, that was all I had.
Well, thank you for coming out though.
Okay. Just to see
Be
you.
careful driving back.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a nice holiday, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I know you've all talked about our rail to trail study that we're doing, and one of the spent some time out there with Rob, and we're looking at what you would need in terms of rail if we did do something with the trail that we could continue with the Rev Rail. And you actually don't need that much rail sticking up for the rail bikes. And there are all kind of possibilities, and that's our main focus. We're saying we want to preserve the ability to continue to have Rev Rails.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Dean, I think,
Yes, sir.
you're on deck.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Up here on the farm, trunk or treat took place on October 25th. We had 566 visitors and we had 51 volunteers. Kristen and their two staff helped to coordinate with myself, Alex, and Mr. Hajos on parking. It was a great event. It was well received. And actually, I'm just going to real quick, I won't mention all of them. There's about 20 people that sponsored it, but in particular to the municipality, fire department, EMS, police, library, church, PTO, Friends of Up Beyond the Farm. Thank you for the support locally. And that's really what makes it happen. And it's very well received. There's a lot more competition out there. We may have dropped a little in numbers, but it's still a solid program and it works quite well. So thank you. That's all I had for that. Next, Up Beyond the Farm, ZBGA. Not much to discuss about that. As I mentioned briefly before, HVAC system generated by the end of this week. They ended up having to put in a flex pipe or something for the generator. All that should be up and running, and we look forward. We are under budget and on schedule. Next year, we should be able to complete the courtyard work in advance of the completion of the date. So moving on, Holiday Toy Train, just saw hell out in the parking lot. That encompassed 3 locations up here when they do the Saratoga County area Capital District run. It's Greenfield Center, Corinth, and Hadley. We allowed them to come up to Hadley. They collected over 600 gifts total, roughly about 200 at each station, which was, again, very well received. A good profile for the community and the use of the rail line. So, and lastly, but not least, hatchery update. We have our eggs in our incubators. We have our sack fry out in the raceways. Everything is going well. As you know, the salmon program will be taking a little hiatus, but Jeff is working with DC and we are going to focus on improving our fall stocking and our fall numbers. And placing an emphasis, we'll be able to raise more trout, and increase a better 2-year-old program with our fish. So things are going well at the hatchery as well. So.
And actually, bring them the ball.
Okay.
I have one last thing to add, Ron. So this is not on your agendas because I got a call after we submitted the agendas. I received a call from 2 different individuals, Jeep Invasion, and from Christian Dutcher and Americade. So both of them are looking to use the fairgrounds as a camping site. So Christian had called me up and we had a conversation about it, and he was looking at what we have listed on the webpage for Parks and Rec, that the fairgrounds is $150 a day. That is if it's a day use type of scenario. So we don't actually have costs to use it as like what we would charge somebody to use it for camping. We did something a little bit different with Glamp Adirondack. That was a contract we put in place, and it was based on a certain amount of tents that would be there or a certain amount of occupancy, and then it would increase every year by, say, 3%. So both Jeep Invasion and Christian would like to use the space. One would be during Americade, the other one would be, I think, June 19th to the 21st. They both sent me kind of what their parameters would be, but I think we have to come back to the committee in January to discuss what a cost would be. When we do a campground on the fairgrounds, there's APA permitting involved. So it's a little bit more work on our end, and that's where the costs do increase. But we don't have that in some Schedule A for that. So Dean and I are going to work on some numbers and then bring it back in January for all to see and discuss. That's all I had.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you. Dean, thank you.
You bet. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dean.
Yep.
Nice.
Solid waste. Scott is sitting right next to me.
I didn't see you. You're right in front of me.
So quiet.
Thanks.
We have, for today.
So I will actually turn it over to Scott. I think you can take care of most of these, Scott. So,
Yeah, so start with the action agenda, new business. So the first is the request for the new contract for electronic recycling services. So our current contract, which allows the transfer stations to collect e-waste, is up. We currently had E-Lots as our provider. We put out a bid, and the winning bid we were proposing for this year was the Electronic Recyclers International.
Let's bring this forward for consideration. Motion, Mr. Crusader, Mr. Strainer on the second, discussion.
Can I add one?
Discussion, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick, is you don't have a bid tab in front of you. We can get you that, but as you all recall, for the electronics bid, if you do not charge at your station, we don't get charged for the electronic recycling. If you do charge at your station, then they will charge you for pickup. But if you do not charge at your transfer stations, you do not have to pay a cost. They just come and pick them up. The other thing is we were concerned that maybe this ERI would not wrap the existing electronics on site. There was a discussion about that. Scott had reached out to them. They said they most certainly will wrap them and remove them. So they'll take care of all that. But again, I know there's how many transfer stations do charge?
Lake George, and there's one other that
So, but you'll be charged if you do charge them.
Johnsburg.
Johnsburg.
Yes, but if you don't.
I know.
But if you don't charge, then they won't charge you.
Okay. Why charge? Unless you charge a little.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Because they get paid by the manufacturers anyways for the electronics recycling, and that's the difference. If you're going to charge, then they're going to charge you. You don't have to charge for it. You can take it for free, and they won't charge you a dime, and the only thing you have to do is store it until they come and pick it up.
I think some thought it was to their benefit to charge, because then they could, charge more than the price they were paying to the.
Right,
electronics.
yeah, there's a little, you can make a little spread
Yeah.
there, but it's irrelevant, probably, it's not much.
Have you had that conversation with Peter Olszewski?
I did.
Okay,
so-
I'm just curious because, all right,
Yes.
okay,
Yes, so I think he's looking at changing practice. that they're-
okay, yeah.
How often do they pick up?
So it came up through our transfer station operator meeting that ELOTS was pretty unreliable and pick up, whereas ERI, they say they can be up within 2 days to pick up, depending on, if they're getting full at the station, they're able to send, they're bigger company that have
Only requires a call.
resources, yeah.
And they're gonna be staying in business? They aren't gonna just at some point in time throw their hands up and say, no, we're not gonna do this anymore?
ERI's been
ERI's
around for a
around,
while.
They're national.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I'm looking at, we were talking about charging, if we're charged, we at least got something for trying to get rid of them in the end when these people decide that they aren't gonna be in business anymore.
So it goes through the 2015 New York State electronics recycling law, which taken a while, I think, for these businesses to get on board, but they seem like they're not going anywhere. The cost is moved to the manufacturers, which is
Right.
why they don't charge.
So if you're at your transfer station, you don't wanna take these, you can always charge and push them off to someone who doesn't charge. Just a thought.
Yeah.
There's no volume, right? It doesn't hit a
No.
volume and then it's, okay,
No.
because Lake George gets a lot of
No.
EVs,
Right.
motels and.
I think you mentioned an important item, and that is the pickup, because a lot of times what happens is if they don't like coming until, the shed is overflowing, right? I mean, that's not good. It's unsightly and it's maybe even unsafe, but if we could have them come on a regular basis and, if the shed is.
Yeah, and that would be up to the transfer station operators to make that call. We're certainly not putting in a schedule. You show up because maybe Frank and Stony Creek gets it picked up twice a year. Where somebody else Queensmere might get picked up every month. So we're not gonna put them on a schedule. It'll be up to the transfer station operators. They'll have the number to call and say, hey, we need a pickup. And as Scott said, they will be there within a couple days.
Yeah, Scott, if you could, put that in writing, make that clear to all the
Sure.
the transfer station operators. We have a small shed and
Yeah, it fills up.
it fills up, and next thing you know, this stuff's like spilling out the front door,
Question? There's a county charge on this? I don't see the tab sheet, but is there a county expense on this?
No.
Okay, so there's no charge to the county on it. Okay. So nothing has to be modified within town contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will we do this one? I can take care of that.
Just a second, we're gonna need to, we have a motion on this, we do. Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of the contract, the new contract, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is carried, thank you. Next item.
Next item we have is to amend the 2025 budget for waste management and containment. I think I've discussed here at committee before, or Scott has, that we've had a bunch of containers that we had at our Tony Pit up in Lake George, Warrensburg area. They were old containers that we were pulling pieces and parts off of to rebuild other containers. I think we pulled the majority of pieces and parts off those that we can. So we've started to scrap those. So this would take the money out of the appropriations and put it into our revenue code for excess sale of that material. And then we're using that, or Scott's using that, to purchase new containers. So to amend the budget.
All right then, we bring this forward for consideration, Mrs. Chairman, for being on the second. Any further discussion? Containers are expensive. How much is an average container?
For the open 40-yard, probably around $8,000.
For the enclosed, I think we're at about 12.
Well,
Yeah.
Right then, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you, everyone. Next item.
And the last item we have on there is a transfer of funds, and this is to cover the cost of remainder of overtime and part-time salaries for the remainder of this year. And you'll see I've taken it out of another code to move it in, so I'm not asking for any more money. We already have it within that budget. So it's 316 for overtime salaries and 4,000 part-time salaries.
Let's bring this forward for deliberation. To be another motion, anyone have a discussion? Question, all those in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, carried.
I'll turn it over to Scott for items for discussion.
Yeah, just a quick update on our working group. We meet once a month, looking at recyclables and compost. So as I may have said more times than you want, the food scrap recycling grant, with the state, we had the tentative award in January. It's still routing with the state. So we've got it routing with the state. Additionally, we have a request in for the New York State, 2025 wetland delineation, so we're waiting for a determination on the site of Stone Quarry Road, which is by the airport. And then the third thing happening with specifically the Stone Quarry Road is we recently kind of realized that the FAA requires us to do some additional things because of the proximity to the airport within 10,000 feet of a jet-powered aircraft airport. We may have to cover the material, which was not in our original proposal. So the good news is we have a subject matter expert, technical assistance through the Center for Ecotechnology, which is funded by the DEC, and he's been up to the site. He's been wonderful. Like, he's been doing this since the late 70s. So he's got a wealth of information. He has some solutions for us. Additionally, we're looking at the Tony Pit again. That was cited in the organics management plan that was completed in 2023 as another potential site. And because of the potential holdups with the Stone Quarry Road and potential additional expenses, we're kind of re-looking at the Tony Pit. Craig Coker, who's our subject matter expert, came and visited both sites, and he's kind of helping to kind of craft pros and cons of each site. So I feel like we're making some progress there, but we're still kind of figuring out the site, and especially with some of these other issues that have cropped up. And then, you know, with recyclables, we're still looking at proposing maybe a pilot study to take maybe the cardboard, kind of bale it and sell it into the marketplace. We had our transfer station operators meeting, which was great, a couple weeks ago. And by this point, in addition to the spring meeting, we've had representation from all of the transfer stations. But a topic of conversation is, you know, the incentive for diverting more material from landfills and burning is kind of flipped right now. We pay less to burn or bury the trash than we do to recycle. So we're trying to change that, flip that script so we can actually tap into some of these marketplaces.
Wasn't that long ago they paid us.
Right.
Right.
Amazing how that market has changed. Just amazing.
Which we still have out there. We have an EPA grant, which, you know, as Kevin mentioned, we got notice that it went to the next stage. And I think in the next month, we'll hear if we were awarded the EPA grant, which would provide, you know, the costs for building a structure and having having balers to kind of take this material and then send it through a company like Replenish, who can give us some fixed prices over long term, especially with the market volatility. I think I'm kind of going through these are all connected, obviously, but I'll just, unless there's questions, I'll kind of go into the last topic there, which is related. So I had the NISAR 3, which is the New York State Conference for Reuse, Reduction, and Recycling, a couple weeks back, and there were different folks talking about some of these harder to recycle materials like mattresses, for example. So I'm getting more information, but there's a new company that can potentially take mattresses, and they were approved through the DEC to turn it into like spray foam insulation for houses. So looking at the possibility of maybe a transfer station who wants to be a part of this program that will take mattresses, which, you know, huge volume, they don't fit anywhere nicely. They've got a lot of, you know, empty space inside of them. they, up to this point, have been hard to do anything beside bury them or burn them, so some promise there. As well as Paint Care, which is another program that was at the conference. They could also set up at a transfer station for free and collect paint from residents. Again, these are just preliminary, just getting more information, trying to be mindful of transfer stations who are already pretty busy and, you know, trying to think through what could make their operations more efficient.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea, because I think the program that we've been running here at the county is twice a year. It's been a very successful program. But I hear all the time from people, geez, I missed that date or whatever. And proper disposal of those paints, very, very important. Let's face it, this stuff's not going to happen, right? So the proper disposal of these products, if we could figure out a cost-effective way of being able to handle it at our transfer station, where the county could then pick it up and dispose of it, that would be, you know, a great service, I think, to our residents.
Ron's volunteer.
Even if we only did it a few times a year at the transfer stations,
Yeah.
instead of having a central place, maybe we do it at transfer stations and we pick it up after you know, during the same time period, you know what I'm saying? And that would save people at the Warrensburg or wherever we were, you know, doing it. It's another idea.
And I have meetings with both these organizations, so I'll try to get some more concrete details to bring back.
I like that idea very much. Any other discussion? Scott, is that it?
Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott.
So the last thing we have is for Public Works for DPW. You will see that this is probably the first time in a long time that I've had no action agenda, new business items on for the last committee meeting of the year. I do have several topics to discuss under discussion items. One is the road project updates for 2025. I'm going to hand out pictures, and these are basically all the road projects that we have this year, and I'll start them with you, Mike. We can go through them. So this year we had one large culvert project, and that was the Corinth Road, Clendon Brook in the town of Queensbury. I think everybody's happy that that is completed. It worked out well. They were a couple weeks behind, but all said and done, it turned out to be a fantastic project. Highway projects this year, we did 20.7 miles of roads. They ranged from Warrensburg, Stony Creek, Thurman, Bolton, Oregon, Lake Luzerne, Chester, Queensbury, Lake George, and Johnsburg. The only type of bridge work that we had this year was the County Home Bridge, had the Core 10 rail on it, which is that rust colored rail, which was rotting from the inside out. And that now has been replaced back to galvanized box beam rail. Federal aid projects for 2025. We have the Corinth Road Call Street project coming up. We had secured funding. If any of you were on the last AGFTC committee meeting, we have increased that project from a $6 million project to almost a $16 million project. And that's an 80-15-5. So the county will pay 5 cents on the dollar for their share. The additional funds for that project will be more intensive pavement treatments, rock removal, culvert rehabs, embankment stabilization, especially up by Hartman Loop and Hartman Hill. Other federal aid projects we had this year that are still underway. This one's still hanging out there is Middleton Bridge. They're finally preparing the updated draft and final design approval documents. We will have next year in construction Adirondack Road, County Route 15 over Millbrook, and Johnson Road over Millbrook in the town of Horicon. Hudson Street design and right of way will be for the remainder of 2026, and that's over Mill Creek in the town of Johnsburg, and the construction will be 2027. Bay Road over what we refer to as an unnamed water course up by Top of the World, or up by I apologize, I'm forgetting the name of the road. Construction will begin in 2026. Amsterdville Road over Marshall Brook, as you all probably saw in the paper this morning, that the public info email is set up for any public comment. We have received quite a bit. And the main comments in reference to that project are closing down the road. So I'm not saying that is or isn't going to happen. What I will say is that we'll look at other opportunities for us to do stage construction. One of the things that we always talk about with stage construction is that if you're building half and allowing people to drive on the existing half, the cost increase significantly when you do that. It certainly is it's cumbersome to do the long detour, but the price is reduced probably by almost $1 million if we don't do that. So, but stay tuned. We're not done yet. We're just taking the public comments for now, and then we'll take all those comments into account and determine from there what will be the next stages that we do. Diamond Point over Smith Brook, there's 2 separate culverts up there. Design is underway for both of those, and scheduled construction for those will be in 2027. New tip projects programmed during this year's tip update was Dix Avenue. And that will be a lot of pavement and drainage work. You do know that we did some minor pavement work out there this year. That was because we were having significant deterioration, but it'll go again next year into full depth reconstruction or reclamation, which is good to have that existing pavement on there to do that. And then it'll be drainage, roadside signage. There's quite a bit of drainage work within that area. Glenwood Avenue has come up on the project again, and this is the portion of Glenwood Avenue that runs between Quaker Road and Glen Road or Glen Street. Construction in that will be sometime in 2027. I'm sorry, not until 2029. Smith Road over 13 Brook, we just tentatively awarded to a consultant. Construction with that will be 27-28. States Road East in Stony Creek, that will begin construction in 28-29, and Gill Road in Stony Creek will be construction in 2030. As far as the culvert inventory, this was the big thing that we had done the assessment over this past year. We had found, I think I reported last committee, that there were over 1,800 culverts within the county. The good news is there's approximately 1,045 of those culverts that we don't have to do anything with. They are in good shape and they will remain that way probably for the next 5 to 10 years. Maintenance, and this could be minor issues, whether it's cleaning out culvert ends, replacing portions of them. There's approximately 143 of those. Rehabilitation, which could be anywhere from lining them or replacing them, or doing, again, some minor bank stabilization work or end section work. There's 134 of those. And then full replacements, there's approximately 563 of those. You all know that we have a $12.5 million bond for that work. Design and permitting will begin this winter on next year's culvert work. That'll be done by engineering in-house and some, depending on the size of them, some engineering consultants. Construction, we will have our DPW do a majority of that work, but if it's something that it's beyond us, or just whether it's at a depth, for the big dip, I'll give you an example of Call Street, that was 25 feet down. Similar to those projects, we will push off to a contractor. If they have regulated stream crossings where there's a trout stream or something, typically we would push that off to contractors as well. And that is probably the extent of the projects that we did and will be doing moving forward for 25 and for 26. The last thing I have on here is I had to go back into I'll stop there. If anybody has any questions on any of the projects that were done this year or any of the future projects that are going on?
Well, I mean, on 250 miles of county roads, a lot depends upon whether the miles are reconstruction or whether it's just paving. So there's a mix there. And so, ideally what you want is you want to be, somewhere around life cycle, right? And I'm not sure we're there yet. If we are, it's what's your assessment on that?
We've been playing catch up for years and we're still playing catch up. I'm not sure when we'll get there. I mean, the conversation I think I had with Frank and John during our budget talks is I could use $10 million a year and maybe in 10 years I might catch up. It's just that we fell behind for so many years. Certain things that we're doing now, and I think I've made everybody aware of it, committee, is we're starting to look at preservation certain years, and under preservation, that's a mill and fill, an overlay, a 2-course overlay. Typically, we can do a lot of miles of roads in those years, and we've been trying to alternate every year. Like this year would be an overlay, next year would be a reconstruction. Reconstructions are certainly more expensive. This year, we actually kind of stepped back a little bit and did a mixture of both. That got us 20 miles of roads this year. But with 250 miles of road, we, on a 10-year turnaround, we should probably be doing 25 miles of road a year. And we're just not there. Next year, I know that I think I went in asking for 6.3. I think budget-wise, we settled with, eventually 5.1. I can certainly come back after the first of the year and look for money out of the road fund balance. But again, I think right now, based on estimates, engineering estimates right now, that even the 5.1 million is, if we cut back roads, that's going to be short. We're certainly never going to get 20 miles of road next year. Every chance we get to use federal money, we do. But there's only 10 roads that are federally aid eligible within Warren County because of their classification. Most of them are in Queensbury. There's 2 outside of Queensbury, one which was Amsterdville Road that's already been completed, and the other one's Peaceful Valley Road because it runs between 2 state routes. And a fair amount of Peaceful Valley has been done, but there's still a couple other portions that need to be completed. So, and I know that they were looking at extending a little bit more at County Route 11. So again, we're doing the best with the funding we have. We, as I said to John and Frank during the budget meetings, we will certainly get the bids out. I think we're just about ready to get the bids out for next year's roads. So who knows? If prices haven't increased, maybe things will change when we see those estimates, or maybe we're going to get a big sticker shock. I would say stay tuned until we get those bids in. So.
When you say 10 miles of federal roads, does that include
10 roads.
10 roads? I'm sorry, I meant
Yep.
to say 10 roads. Does that what qualifies for CHIP funding? And
No,
has
that's-
CHIP
that's-
funding
that's-
increased over the last few years?
So certainly CHIPS funding has increased a little bit. As you all know, I go down to Albany every year and fight for money at Advocacy Day. And this year we asked for 250 million across the state. We received 50 million.
Yeah,
So that gets spread out around the whole state. All of us, including the towns, had gotten a slight increase in their CHIPS funding.
yeah.
It's
slight.
not significant, but
Yeah.
the 10 miles, the 10 roads that are federally eligible, that's beyond CHIP.
Okay,
I mean, they can certainly, but we try not to use CHIPs on those roads because they're federally eligible, so we try to use the federal money.
yeah.
Because we're only paying 5 cents on the dollar
Yeah.
for those federally eligible roads. But again, the majority of them are in Queensbury, and the only 2 outside are Amsterdville and Peaceful Valley.
The CHIPS is not keeping up with the increase of material costs.
No,
It's just not.
No,
It's
that's
going
part of the
backwards.
reason why this is a topic that I think we need to be spending
Yeah,
a lot more time on. This is, we have a certain amount of infrastructure, that it demands a certain amount of reinvestment, right? And I think our people do a great job. I think they're very effective in getting grants and things. They've been very effective under the bridge program. And I think that we've been very active, in the state organization. In fact, you're the president, are you not?
I am. It's almost over with.
So- So the increase we got this year, you can attribute that to his great leadership as president of the
Thank you.
association. But I think in terms of the county and our municipalities, we really have to be focused on.
But initially, it was supposed to be 0, I think, before you got to 50. correct?
It was supposed to.
That's an indication of what we're facing with the state going forward too.
Yes, and you certainly, I can kind of give you a little feedback, because you all saw the announcement probably late October, very early November, that the governor has said that there's $600 million worth of projects being done. That's the $800 million that she put into the state's budget to do state roads. They are using some of that money to disperse to municipalities. They're not telling you how much and when and where. And more so for the federal program than anything else. If there's extra needed for New York programs or federal programs, they're adding that money in. But yeah, we should have gotten, I mean, we were supposed to get 0 and the governor did put extra 50 million in there. And again, I think the ask going into this year is going to be almost 300 million. So we'll see when we go to Albany, for the budget hearing in January or in February, and then of course for Advocacy Day in March. So,
But our infrastructure requirements continue regardless.
Right.
Of the ebb and flow of those political winds. You know, we own it. It's our responsibility, and I think that we need to have a lot more discussion on how we can get that production up to what we think is minimum, not maximum, minimum. It's an important question because all these roads are linked, they're all together, it's all part of one network, right? And all right.
yeah, I would say to that is, and most of you are all aware, there's a formula that DOT's used, the states use for chips for eons, and they've never changed that. Regardless of the different costs that we've all seen, they've never changed the formula. So,
I mean, if you wanted one sure vehicle to upgrade the infrastructure in this state, that would be, you don't have to invent anything. That would be a great thing, is to provide increased funding for the CHIPS program, and that would translate into a lot more road work in the state of New York. Believe me, and all.
one of the things that I will add that we are at the state association level that we're pushing is there's state touring money that gets pushed. Counties don't receive it. Cities receive it, some towns receive it, not all, but the state touring route money, and I can give you an example. The city of Buffalo gets $18 million a year with state touring route money, and they never spend it. So one of the things that we're asking the state to do is to nix the state touring route program and just take that money and put it into a CHIPS. And then if the city of Buffalo or city of Newburgh does a project on that state touring route, they're just going to use their CHIPS money to be able to do that. But there's a lot of money that sits in that state touring route fund that never gets spent, and it gets rolled over year after year. So if Buffalo had 17 million last year, left over, this year they have 37 million or 35 million or something like that. So then that to us makes sense to just take that money and kind of just push it into the CHIPS program moving forward.
Bless your pen.
We all hear, I mean, and when you hear the billions with a B, billions of dollars being spent in all different ways and shapes and varieties. I mean, we have a statewide CHIP program that's now at what level? $2.
I want to say 386 million with the 50 million. It might be up to 400.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep. A program that's in the millions, hundreds of millions, still, not even.
Not enough. I think they've done a calculation at least at the town highway level, and the county participated in it, County Highway Superintendent Association. It's probably almost 2 billion a year that would be needed statewide. Last item I have on there is Hague Bridges. I don't have a resolution because there's not one that's needed, because believe it or not, my old trusty book that I brought with me in 1955, the resolution was completed. As I had said, probably end of last year and beginning of this year, that any towns who have any bridges left over, which I only think there's about 12 that still exist. I think Frank probably has at least 6 of them in Stony Creek. That if they were to be repaired, fixed, brought up to the county standards, the county would take them over. So Hague has done that to 2 different roads. It was the Yaw Road and McCoy Road bridges. And Josh had come and said, you know, can you take them over now? So we had gone through engineering, looked at the plans that they provided us. We are okay with taking over both those bridges. I didn't increase my budget this year for those bridges because they're brand new, so I shouldn't have to do that for either one of them, but I just wanted to kind of go through the resolution from 1955, so all the other towns are aware of it as well, is basically what it says is the resolution to provide maintenance of bridges on town roads. Whereas it is provided by subdivision 10 of section 231 of the highway law that upon recommendation of the county superintendent of highways, the board of supervisors may adopt a resolution taking over the maintenance of any bridge having a span of more than 25 feet on a town highway. Whereas Herrick Osborne, who was the county superintendent at the time, has recommended to the board that the county take over the maintenance of all bridges having a span of over 25 feet and located on town highways. Now, that may mean that I should take over any bridges, but it doesn't, because it follows the subdivision 10 of section 231 of the highway law, which says that I have to recommend doing it first. So my recommendation is that when these bridges are brought up to county standards, then based on that resolution, we will take them over. So I will let you know that I asked Josh Patchett, Supervisor Patchett, to pass a resolution, at least at the town level, that they are turning the bridges over to the county as far as maintenance. And then I will write a letter along with him writing a letter to DOT that we will be the ones to be maintaining those bridges from here on out, and we should get the inspection reports for the bridges. And I would do that. You still have Big Hollow Bridge,
Yeah.
but not until that's repaired. So, and that's all I had.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a subject that we get familiar with and get comfortable with. If we have, we have a project, every project, bring with soft costs around $800,000 at Comstar, and then we have Brown Bound Bridge, something called Creek Bridge, which is take place in late 26 or maybe early 27 of somewhere between $1.3 million and $1.5 million. Replace those bridges, and when we do that, we'll live over you.
Yes.
We get brand new bridges, and we're fine with that. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Anyone wishing to address the committee at this point? Frank?
I had two things. The first item is the budget. The fact that the road projects got cut down to 5.1 million. The intent was to take 1.2 million out of the D fund balance and make it 6.3. So I hope the board, after the first of the year, considers that. And the second thing is the definition of insanity. And this goes back to the solid waste. About 21 years ago, we had a building, we had the balers, we had scales, we had all this stuff. And we got rid of all of it. And now we are 22 years later, we're gonna do it again. So, you know, that's just the definition of it. Insanity.
And I had somebody recently remind what had been around long enough to remember that, Frank. Kevin?
Yeah, I just want to add, Frank, and you're right. I certainly hope that we get that road fund money. I didn't want to come back, and I'll come back after the first of the year, but I didn't want to do it until we saw what the estimates were that came back in from the bidders.
Right.
And then we can determine kind of what that amount will be, because maybe it's less. I could cross my fingers and say that, but I think it'll be more.
All right, Chair, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Strainer, Mr. Bean on the second, all in favor of adjourning?